Our deadline day coverage here on Unfiltered, and after the Darren Ruff edition, of course, I had to put the hat back on because now it's that's a Met Twitter may implode if that's the only edition they get between now and the deadline. As my guy Tyler Kepner, New York Times, joining me. So let me start with this. How much pressure do you think between now and the deadline that Mets brass is under? I know DeGrom back tonight, the sacrificial lamb Nationals against him, but what kind of pulse do you get that there's some pressure on the Mets and Billy Epler to get something else done here?
Well, I'm sure they're trying. I mean, it's a special season so far, and they don't want to let that go to waste. The Phillies have made a couple of moves. The Braves have made some moves. So yeah, I think the pressure's on. I mean, they're in a good spot right now, and they do get DeGrom back for whatever he can give you. But their minor moves so far, I would call it minor. I mean, Danny Vogelbach and Michael Perez and Ruff. I mean, it's okay. It's stuff around the margins, but I think fans are certainly expecting a little bit more, and Steve Cohen is always willing to do a little bit more. So
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
curious that they've been so quiet.
And I think Tyler also watching the D-Rob, David Robertson, go to the Phillies, not going to make a Met fan feel any better, considering that they knew that that's an addition they need. It's got to be about getting lefties out. We've seen them really kind of fill roles, right? Vogelbach, okay, I need a guy from the left side DH. Now I need someone to hit left righties. Ruff will be the platoon. So and it's okay. They're kind of cookie cuttering kind of what they need. How much priority-wise do you think now getting lefties out? Diaz, getting lefties out in the back end of the bullpen is now their number.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something they need to look at. Of course, maybe getting back Aaron Loop, who did such a good job for them, last year from Anaheim. I mean, he hasn't done a great job out there, but he's the same guy. So maybe that might be something. Billy obviously knows, the Angels. So I don't know where it'll come from, but I'd be a little surprised if they didn't do a little something more in this next hour and a half.
Talking to Tyler Kepner, the job Cash did with, speaking of pressure, right? I know it's not George now, and people think it's urban legend that you and I lived through that, where I would open up a paper and George is apologizing to the fan base that we suck, right? It's a long time ago, but
Yep.
Brian Cashman's got Aaron Judge in his last year, right? And he's got the 200 win seasons from Booney where they didn't do anything. The year Brasso knocked him out. How much do you think they're at least breathing a sigh of relief? Benintendi, you add Montas, Trevino. They found a place for Gallo. They've kind of knocked off everything on their checklist so far, haven't they?
Yeah, they've done a great job. I mean, I've been out there the last couple of days where they happen to make the trades, and they got guys who I think can really help them in the October tournament. I mean, you think about a contact hitter like Benintendi to put the ball in play. That you need some of those kind of guys. You need a parade of really good arms in the bullpen, like we've seen the last few years. Guys who can match up well against certain parts of the lineup based on this and that. I think that's what they see in Efros, a guy who can get out lefties and righties, and Trevino as well. So although he's had a tough season, the underlying numbers are okay. Montas, a power arm at the top of the rotation, again, who has the split to get out the lefty hitters as well. I think it's great. I think Cash did a tremendous job, and those are the kinds of moves that if you're a Yankee fan, you love to see, because it's not just about getting in. They've already done that. That's the hard part. It's about finally getting over the hump, and I think these are the kind of guys that can help them do that.
Tyler, when you sit there and you think about the Soto deal, this is, look, the Herschel Walker thing, and, we're going to make all these comparisons. Is this, though, the largest, when you think about the deadline deals, and we've both been a part of so many of these and seen, I remember a few years ago, 35 of them in the last hour, and maybe today we get some more names. Is this the biggest deal we've ever seen at a trade deadline?
At a trade deadline, it might be. I'd have to go back and really look. I mean, there were some at the August deadline. Remember when the Red Sox and Dodgers did that one in 2012, where the Red Sox just unloaded all those big contracts with Beckett and Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez. That was a big one, but a much different kind of trade, because it wasn't like this huge prospect package like we see now. I mean, it's rare to see so many prospects go in one deal. but you have to like it from San Diego's perspective because they get him for 3 years. 3 postseason runs potentially with Juan Soto. So eventually, it's going to dry up for San Diego. I mean, you can't just keep trading all your prospects and keep paying top dollar for everybody. It doesn't work that way forever. But they're trying to maximize this window, and you love to see teams be aggressive like that. I think there's a certain host who once said parades are prospects are cool and parades are cooler. I don't know who that was, but I think I might be talking to him. And that's what they want in San Diego. Look, they've never had a parade in San Diego. The Chargers never won there. I think they won in the AFL, 50,
Yeah.
60 years ago.
And Stan Humphries, if you want to consider that
Right,
season when
and the
they almost
Padres,
won, right? Yeah.
the Padres have never won. It was just their luck that the 2 times they made the World Series, it was against all-time great teams, the '84 Tigers and the '98 Yankees.
That's right.
Even the Chargers World Series, Chargers Super Bowl was against an all-time great team in the
That's
Niners.
right. And LaDainian Tomlinson those years had Brady and the Patriots in their heyday, right?
Right. So and Dan Fouts was great. I mean, they've had a lot of great players. They've just never, it just never happened in San Diego. And you know what? I think it'd be so cool to see that city. I think it's still the only one team town in baseball. I mean, it'd be awesome. And that's what he's trying to do. And that's what it's supposed to be all about.
Yeah, I think we got another couple minutes here with Tyler Kepner. I think one of the cool things about the Soto deal, the dynamic duos. I love, in general, I wasn't a comic book guy, but I'm a big Marvel. I've jumped into the, now I love, and we've got kids, right? The superhero age.
Yeah.
David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez in a lineup, right? And covering that myself and seeing that. We think about Braun and Prince Fielder. Now, nowadays, it's not 3-4 in a lineup like it used to be. But the idea of Tatis Jr. and Soto, even if they don't keep Soto long term, the next 2+ years, we're talking about something we could be talking about, you and I, 20 years from now, in terms of these ages, of these kind of talents, hitting back-to-back, one left, one right, in an order. That's a once-in-a-lifetime special thing that now all of a sudden in L.A., right, forget the Angels, that's the 5 freeway, but in the middle of the Dodgers area where they own everything, there's going to be a lot of national attention, my friend, on the San Diego Padres with those two guys back-to-back in a batting order, even if it's only the next 2+ years.
Right, and 3 postseason runs is still a decent
That's right.
decent span of time. I mean, we think about you talk about great duos. Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. They really only had 3, maybe 4 years together where they were both at the top. I mean, stuff like this doesn't always last that long, but with a chance to do it 3 times, that's really fun. I mean, we see Judge and Stanton. In over with the Yankees. It is cool to have that kind of duo. And by the way, they'll get Fernando Tatis Jr. back. So it's really like a trio of some of the very best hitters in baseball, and it's exciting. I mean, I really thought, Casey, that the Padres were heading this way last year. I mean, God knows Preller has been extremely aggressive the last few seasons, just collecting all this talent. And then, of course, it fell apart at the end of the year. But around midseason, it was awesome in San Diego. It was just an incredible atmosphere. They draw great. That's the place to be. Now, the problem is you got the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are always terrific. So this is what you have to do, though, to knock off the Dodgers and to really have a shot. Giants had a shot last year doing it their way, but I think this is the way that Preller always envisioned doing it. Collecting these stars to just take it right to the Dodgers. They got to prove it, but it's going to be fun to see them try.
And last year, the Scherzer situation, right? And that was huge, where egg on the face, because it was like Mike Piazza the Marlin, the amount of time, it was like 7 minutes Scherzer was supposed to be a Padre, and then he goes to the Dodgers, right? And it's a huge difference maker. How brilliant of Mike Rizzo, who you and I both, I mean, look, this is a guy who stole Trey Turner. He's made some big moves in the past, right? How brilliant to keep the Dodgers involved and to have the Padres have this pressure the whole last few days of, we could watch Soto playing against us a year after everything with Scherzer. I just think we're never going to think about the other side of it. Mike's not the owner. He's not the learners. He didn't want to get rid of Soto. How much even though it'll get forgotten unlike by nerds like you and me, I mean, how about the job Mike Rizzo did in all of this with this 16, 17-day push that was forced upon him over the last couple of weeks with Soto?
Yeah, Mike Rizzo is not the kind of guy who likes to rebuild. But when he has to do it, he does it pretty well. And it's hard to think logically if you're a fan. I mean, you would love Soto's so young that you would love to just build around him and see how that goes. But failing that, um, he made he made a really great looking deal. We'll see how these guys turn out. But they were all really highly regarded dudes just a few years ago as amateurs, and they've done nothing as pros to change that opinion. So I think he made a tremendous deal. He played the leverage just right. He made a good deal last year, I think, for Turner and Scherzer. As hard as it was to trade the extra year of Turner, to get a starting catcher and a good starting pitcher. I mean, these are foundational pieces. These are real guys. So it's a great job by Mike, even though he doesn't love having to do it. Um, and it will, I think, in time accelerate their rebuild. It's going to be a while. This year is going to continue to hurt, but eventually, I think Rizzo is going to be rewarded for these difficult moves in the present.
Tyler, appreciate you. Just about an hour to go to the deadline, which means you got an hour until basically all Met Twitter is going to be barking, and they won't be saying rough. And I just made that up on the fly. That's how long it's been. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, man. Great seeing you. All right.
All right, there's my guy, Tyler Kepner. You can keep posted on all things Unfiltered and keep with us up to date on Twitter at Casey Stern. Make sure to like and subscribe to all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you go. Get on my 2 YouTube channels as well. And you can see me soon on the tube and right here with you and hear me on Unfiltered as the revolution continues.